So, when the...
Hello, internet friends!
I wanted to get you.
Okay. Yeah,
We are... welcome to Last Call of Cthulhu. You are joining Thomas's world-famous Thaco story in media res.
Which is actually not that great of a
Oh
story.
no, with this build-up.
Let's go.
No, I mean, so the second edition came out, and I had, I didn't really know that second edition was out, and I'm like, oh my god, the new books, and it's, obviously I could read it.
I can get proficiencies now.
Yeah. Wait, you could read?
Yes, it said second edition. But, I was looking in the back of the books, and, they list Thaco as an actual, in the index. Mm-hmm. And then I went back to look at my books, which were first edition. I'm like, I couldn't find it anywhere. And it was months and months until I actually got the second edition books. But I was like, I don't understand it. I just don't understand.
The only time in my life I think I've ever felt anxiety, I was in kindergarten, and I was a very good reader already, and I went to kindergarten for the first time, and small town Texas. I went to a 2-room schoolhouse, but on the wall was a word I'd never seen before, and I was already kind of a stuck-up kid. And so I was just like, what is this word? And I was too stuck up to ask anybody because I didn't want to admit. And so I just was sitting there and I'd just stare at this thing. And I'd fixated on it. And
Thaco?
No, it was, I'd sit there and I'd go, what is that? And finally, I was crying. I went home and I was crying, and my mom's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm dumb!
Oh, baby!
And my mom's like, why? And I said, there's a word I don't know. And, it was the 70s, so she didn't go into a good parenting, there are things we don't know.
Yeah.
And instead she was like, what's the word? And I said, well, I don't know, but it's spelled A-E-I-O-U.
Nice.
And I that drew it and I had it was 3 days of me trying to figure out what and it was just the vowels spelled out, but I was like,
and sometimes why? I don't get that.
That just makes it weirder.
I almost thought you were going to do the Adkadevki Jekyll and Knocker Stuixes. I really thought you were going to.
No,
that
I wasn't.
word. Because they were teaching us how to do script, and that was always at the top.
Right? Yeah, that tall, that strip along the top of the room. Yeah,
exactly.
We had that in the room that we used for homeschooling when I was a kid. So yeah, it's freaking ubiquitous.
So this was an interesting episode because we started with a bunch of table talk outside before the episode of things that might happen, because there was, a 30%, 35% chance that several characters would not continue based on how things went. And so it was, the first half of this episode was sort of a weird experience for me of trying to I was playing marriage counselor almost.
Well, and I think that this is one of the good uses of a DMPC.
Right.
Because I very seldom think that there is much, I don't like DMPCs in general, but this one I think was a really good use of a DMPC to be we're almost there, we got a little bit further to go, you guys need to actually talk about this shit.
We didn't.
Well, we did. There was some enough.
We did and didn't. The primary problem is between Gwendolyn and Eugene, and they have not spoken.
Yep.
True.
I suspect they are around each other as little as possible.
True.
Yeah, and you don't love whenever those kids pop
And
up.
my back is never to you.
That's fair.
No, but it was good to be able to
I'm sure the kids are giving me the evil eye just all the time.
Yeah.
They always know where you are.
Oh, and I'm always very aware of them.
I'm sure.
And I always have the mantra running in the back of my mind.
But it is, I think your point about a DM NPC is a good one. Normally, DM NPCs are pretty awful. Mm-hmm. They fall into I'm the one that knows where we're supposed to go, so follow me.
Right.
Or. Or worse.
Yes, I know what you're thinking of.
And, so Tenzin definitely takes a back seat, because I don't want to do that. But, but he's also a super enlightened Buddhist. And so he's got this weird worldview of just sort of...
Sure. he's got the 1,000-foot point of view.
1,000 year.
Yeah.
It's also interesting, in that, like, if there wasn't a DMPC, there had to have been some other way for us to learn things, right?
Yeah, so the book actually does have little breakout sections of, like, if the party doesn't have Tenzin with them or that sort of thing. But I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty flimsy. A lot of it's like there were like those Chinese Buddhists are at this monastery and they're happy to tell you the tale of whatever,
Sure.
I think I've said this before, but when I was planning how to do this, I was like, either I do the DMPC, I don't include it, or I really wanted to actually have Tenzin be a PC. That was actually going to be one of that was my original pitch to Nick. But then it would be hard because like they wouldn't Tenzin doesn't show up until like episode 6 or 7.
Yeah, I would have had to made someone who would have like just died.
Yeah.
Which in hindsight.
Or
In hindsight, we could have done.
They don't have to die. You can just be like, hey
then
guys,
he
I
would
need to go and take
but
care
he
of my
would need to
grandma.
know too much stuff to actually play. She would still
No, they
need
have to die.
I mean, to be fair, he's gone through multiple Call of Cthulhu characters, and only one of them has actually died, and that was
Yeah,
intended.
Nick is actually the king of my characters leaving. You pioneered that movie.
And then
Although
scooped up and put in a brain pod or whatever.
Yeah,
Still
several
alive,
times
technically, with
or
the ego.
they like wander off into Carcosa by themselves
Yeah.
to try and hunt down a serial killer.
Well, I mean,
You did what?
Well, no, I mean, long story. One of those things where, like, Ezra was like, he's gonna die if he does this, and he's like, he has to do this. Like, he has to resolve this, even though he knows he's gonna have failed. So it was
It was a beautiful Pyrrhic victory.
No, it wasn't. It was a horrible massacre.
They never saw him again.
Yeah. No,
They found pieces of him.
a good chunk of him.
They brought it back.
Brought a chunk of him back.
Along
to
with
bury.
Bathtub Lady.
Bathtub lady.
That's
And
why
then
she
you're
was
like, you could be Bathtub Lady. He's like, stop making me be Bathtub Lady. Then you're like, fine, I'll kill Bathtub Lady.
Well, you brought her back with a hunk of human flesh, like a.
Not together, not like.
Wow.
What?
It's like this is totally different. Yeah.
Anyway.
That was was that Tatters of the King? I think that was.
I mean, that was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was their. I mean, she could have stayed and died.
Yeah.
So she chose to join us and die.
Like you do.
Yeah.
I mean, at least she, Yeah, I was gonna.
Because, our reality makes too much sense and she couldn't handle it.
Well, if you're from
our reality,
Carcosa,
yeah.
Yeah.
Our reality.
that would be something.
Why would you want me to play that?
I think you can play anything. I think you'll find a hook into anything.
Aw.
I don't know. Well, careful, because remember what I did with Hugo.
It's true.
But this character just isn't working. Now I know. And everyone's like, why would you do that? I'm doing good.
I mean, that's kind of what you're doing with Eugene.
No, not this is you did this to me.
No, you did this to yourself. You and your cursed dice.
Yeah.
What?
Not.
How well they work this time.
Cursed dice and then dabbling around in rituals. You know what happens when you do rituals.
Okay, so the next one, Hugo didn't do rituals.
Oh man.
He just made decisions.
I think that's in Cthulhu specifically. It's a very strange thing because you have to have some magic
Yeah.
Yes.
to be able to survive the.
Everything.
Yeah.
But you have to be
gotta-
trying to learn magic that actually does it, and I don't do that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, but I'm very, I like all the rituals and things like that. So that's why I was like, I'm scribbling.
It is interesting how, like, no, you don't look for any useful, but you don't look for like, a protection spell or I mean, the scrying thing. That was semi-useful.
That feels cheap. Like learning spells that are effective, especially when it's like you start from like, that was Hollister. Hollister was he was really good, and he actually knew an incredibly powerful spell, but it was specifically like, you don't want me to use this. Like, and that's what, like,
I think I remember you saying that.
Yeah. It was, I turned a person into, like, some sort of immortal reverend that's always in pain that, like, basically deals with a problem. Like, this immortal, horrible creature is going to eat this thing or something. It's always going to be there guarding this place, and you don't want to be around it.
Like children.
Well, yeah, but you have to turn someone into, like, you have to start with material.
Yeah, there's that part to it. Yeah, it's funny. I treat like Cthulhu, the magic in Cthulhu in the set thing, and this could be a whole after show, but it to me it has a little bit of the parrot shark problem, where people are like, I'll cast binding, or whatever, and it's just like it shouldn't be that mundane. That like everyone's like, I want to find a book that has the mists of Avalon, whatever that spell in it, and they know all the spells, and so I try and do the same parrot shark thing where I sort of mix things up and use the same spell power with different names or something like that. But because I don't know that sense of like this is mundane or this is normal or I know what this isn't what. That's why I really enjoyed Sai's blood magic, because I literally made those mechanics up on the spot, but they were like almost effective. They were like almost a game system. They could almost work.
That's cool.
I kind of like what's been happening with this, where I learn spells but can't cast them correctly to save my life. So there's always this like
something wrong.
But there's also like a flexibility. Like, I'm gonna try this.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to work, but it'll be. I don't know. There's something, because it's the idea, like, the human mind can't really handle and comprehend this, and I like how that's reflected here, where it's like, I'm gonna try and do something, and I'm gonna hopefully get it in the ballpark.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but one thing that I changed for your magic is I don't usually have it cost you sanity, because you're not doing things that the human brain can't comprehend. You're trying, because you early on you talked to me about this sort of, I take an engineering mindset to this and that sort of thing, and you've got a very kind of and so I sort of have this sense of like you're almost treating this like a technical problem kind of thing.
A math equation.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And I'm bad at math.
Wow.
Measure twice.
Measure 3 times, cut twice.
Yeah, that's right. I'm still cutting. Speaking of cutting, I have to go home and get ready to destroy a sofa. So,
Fun.
good night,
After
Patreon.
this episode.
Wow.
Tenzin destroyed it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Patreon friends.
Bye. Thank you for putting up with us.